Howdy, it's me, still in Istanbul. So blessings to you all. As I say, we keep in our prayers our friends to the south who are going through the more difficulties with the coronavirus. And for all those that are out there seeking justice and loving kindness, trying to walk humbly with God, we keep them in our prayers. And we're glad to be coming slowly out of lockdown. For the summer, it'll be the fourth Sunday, once a month. I'm out of lockdown in beautiful downtown Istanbul, where it's sunny and things are getting more and more open all the time. Hoping on the 16th to go back to my home in Egypt for a while and see what happens. We have to live day by day. So stay safe, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, and wash your hands, even though your hands are getting a little red around the edges. So, our gospel passage for today comes from Matthew 10:40 to 42. And basically, it's about hospitality. It's about welcoming. I've been fortunate over the 20 years I've been minister to have small congregations, and each and every one of them has a good hand-painted or good sign that says welcome. And for 2 or 3 are gathered in God's name, it's a good welcoming place to be. So, we have welcome on the door. But what does that really mean? And how does hospitality happen? And it doesn't always. When I was doing research for this sermon, there's always a story to tell. So there was a story about this woman who was in line in a grocery store. And the cashier was telling the woman in front that, that she wasn't working on weekends anymore. And she didn't know what to do with her time. So the lady in front said, we have a come as you are service, Why don't you come to my church? And the woman really was surprised when the woman, the cashier, gave her a big hug and said, "Oh, thank you for welcoming me." Good story. I have a similar story. It doesn't have quite the same ending. But at the beginning, it was a great day. I took my young friend, to the Wales home, and it's a nursing home. And the little old ladies in the nursing home, they love to see good young men, and they were giving him a good time. He was lapping it up. Okay. And we were headed towards the second story recreational area, the lounge, and we were going to do communion. And so I did communion, went through the whole process. We sang "Will Your Anchor Hold in the Storms of Life." My friend seemed to really enjoy the music. It was the top 10 of the Wales home, "Will Your Anchor Hold." And I think it was likely the first time that he'd ever had communion. So it was really a great day, and we went for lunch down the cafeteria with everybody in the dining room. We had a good lunch. And again, all the older people, loved to see a young face, and they made him so welcome. And he'd lived in the community, so he knew some of the characters. Every nursing home has its characters. So at the end of the day, he seemed so happy. I said to him, you know all the characters, you come to church once in a while. Why don't you become part of the community? And he turned and he looked at me and he said, my mother went to church every Sunday. Oh yeah, and she was forgiven. And then she sexually abused me. I was heartbroken. I'd known some of the story, but to hear it brought back to me that the church isn't always the place I expect it to be. And of course, we see examples all the time. Well, the most powerful man in the world gassed peaceful protesters to stand in front of a burnt-out church waving a Bible. So when I came to think about it, I said, we too, just like police departments and governments, we too participate in discrimination. We have for centuries. I mean, you go to the Vatican and you see all the heads chopped off of the Greek gods. Christianity burned down the library in Alexandria. We have a lot to be accountable for and still be accountable for. You see, young people, like my friend, they don't see the good United Church or the good Presbyterian or Anglican, or they don't see denominations. They see the church with capital letters. And we have not been a good example. Oh yes, we have welcome on the door. But the welcome's being covered up by all the abuses of the past and the present. You know, the Vatican is considered a country, okay? It still doesn't treat women. You don't find any women priests. And we still have the terrible sex scandals that have been ongoing. Those sex scandals have tarnished the whole church. And when we go to the southern United States, we see the evangelical conservative movement just wishing they were a country. I mean, they act like it. Pastors with $1 million private jets, mansions, tax-free. The church has not been a credible example. Yes, we have welcome on the door, but we're not giving that life-giving water to the little ones, to the most vulnerable. Yes, we need to defund the church, the institution that ends up giving to itself instead of the most vulnerable. We can't have, and we can't stay silent about a prosperity gospel where God only looks upon the rich and famous. And our mainline churches are often far too silent. Far too silent. Maybe instead of being mainline churches, we need to learn again to be the frontline church. We have a lot of things to change. And with the goodwill of where 2 or 3 are gathered, with that life-giving water, we can truly change the world. But the gospel of Jesus Christ, has to be good news. It has to be life-giving water to the most vulnerable. So let's defund the institutions and let's re-examine our lives in Christ. Let us put ourselves on the front line, because there cannot be peace without justice, and there cannot be welcome without the life-giving water that Jesus offers. As we journey together through the pandemic, as we seek to be Christ's people in a troubled world, we need to know this. Welcome requires action. Welcome requires acts of life-giving to all of God's people. May we be blessed in the next coming weeks as we seek to reconcile and make new. And may we know this always. No matter what the troubles are, God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God.